This is Jack, a 1-year-old African penguin. He's 18 inches tall, weighs in at just 5 pounds, and he is about to embark on an adventure of a lifetime. Jack is the newest member of the San Diego Zoo's Dan and Vi McKinney penguin habitat, home to a colony of over 30 African penguins. Like any group, there are multiple personalities at play at any given time, which can make day-to-day living a minefield to navigate. And as a newcomer to the colony, Jack needs to figure out the rules of etiquette and establish his position in the group as soon as possible. Because that position will determine where he sleeps, when he eats, and who he can partner up with. Come with us as we witness this dynamic colony through Jack's eyes. From fights to seduction, and the loyal to the not so loyal. We'll meet the characters that helped shape Jack's experiences. Welcome to Penguin Beach. It's morning time. The sun is up and the residents of San Diego Zoo are getting ready for their first feed of the day. But over at the African penguin habitat, there is one little resident who has more than food on his mind. It's Jack's first day out in the colony, and he is trying his utmost to blend in. It appears he's taking the wallflower approach, actively avoiding others whilst gathering intel and making observations. A wise move. Even his keepers think so.
So as a juvenile, he's still trying to figure out his place in the colony, and everyone's kind of has their own territory, and he hasn't quite figured out where his is yet.
Jack's a little bit of a misfit. He's unusual because he spends a lot of time by himself. He doesn't really interact with the other birds.
So who is who in the Penguin Zoo? While there are over 30 individuals in this colony, we're going to focus our attention on some of the more, let's say, influential couples and singles in the group. Let's start with the colony's father figures. Meet Rocco and Hoover, the most senior couple here in the penguin habitat, and the first same-sex male pair bond in the colony. These two are inseparable and leading the way when it comes to loyalty and affection.
I love Rocco and Hoover because they're just completely devoted to each other.
Which is quite the opposite to on-again, off-again couple McKinney and Courtney. These two have been together for 6 months now. Let's just say McKinney has been known to have a bit of a wandering eye. And 2-year-old Laurie has caught his attention on multiple occasions. But she doesn't seem to mind. Laurie is no stranger to affection from male penguins.
I want to describe Laurie as that girl in high school that gets into trouble because she can't say no.
She's not a floozy. Anybody with a beak.
Just today I saw Lori sneaking around with McKinney, and she'll cozy on up and give him a little preen behind the neck and try and get some attention back from him.
On the other hand, one penguin who seems oblivious to the boys is 2-year-old Gail. All Gail seems to care about is food. She's the first in line during feeding time and won't think twice about robbing another penguin of their meal. Next up, we have 8-year-old Harlan. He's pair bonded with 22-year-old DG. Quite an age gap for the pair. And initially, this couple seemed quite strong. But lately, Harlan has been giving off signs that he's not all that satisfied in his current relationship.
A female has caught Harlan's eye. Unfortunate for DG, however.
Lastly, we have Austin and Elizabeth, one of the tightest twosomes in the colony. While these two are young, it was love at first sight for them. And rumour has it they're trying for a chick. It would appear that there are some strong personalities in this colony. If you're struggling to keep up, imagine how Jack must be feeling. Isolated and intimidated, Jack continues to avoid confrontation. But he can't live on the outskirts forever. Keeper Laura has arrived with a bucket of fresh fish. It's mealtime, and in this colony, that's quite a social event. All of the penguins gather from near and far, and Jack has no choice but to immerse himself into the action. With this many mouths to feed, it can be quite difficult to ensure that each penguin has been supplied with a sufficient amount of fish.
I like to keep track of about how many fish each bird eats. We got herring and capelin here, and they all kind of have their preference, but sometimes they can be pretty picky. Nope.
And others aren't fussy at all. Step aside, penguins, Gail is here, and she's famished.
Gail has quite the appetite. Girls never said no to fish before, ever.
Jack seems to be somewhat impressed with Gail's consumption habits. So he puts his social anxiety to one side and decides to participate in the breakfast gathering to get a little closer to her. Attempt failed. Gail didn't notice anything other than the fish, and Jack was knocked down a few pegs by Cannon. Time to rethink Operation Approach Gail. Perhaps a more direct approach is needed. Oh, she's leaving? Maybe a quick bite will make her notice. Nope. Maybe one more? It appears our young Jack has a lot to learn when it comes to the art of seduction.
So Jack has been trying to impress another female in our colony here, Gail, but we're not quite sure why she hasn't reciprocated the behavior. Maybe he needs a little more practice.
Meanwhile, at the other end of the habitat, Laurie, our young single female, is the master of seduction. She has successfully pulled McKinney away from his pair bond, Courtney, and things are heating up. Courtney, however, seems none the wiser. But there's more to this love triangle than meets the eye. It's a new day, and our penguins are kicking off the morning with a swim. Some penguins choose to take this opportunity to swim alone and enjoy some quality time to themselves away from the colony. However, other couples like our resident lovebirds, Austin and Elizabeth, are so inseparable that their morning swim looks more like a well-rehearsed synchronised dance. And so it should, as rumours that these two are trying for a chick have spread amongst the keepers.
Austin and Elizabeth have been practicing quite a lot.
They actually have a very strong pair bond, and if it came down to it, I think they'd make great parents.
But not everyone is in a harmonious state of mind this morning. Courtney is not happy with her partner McKinney.
McKinney and Courtney have been bickering all morning.
We saw a little bit of aggression. They're kind of some tough times right now, and they're supposed to be paired up.
I'm pretty sure she caught McKinney sneaking around with Lori, the little single gal.
McKinney's wandering eye has gotten him into trouble with Courtney before, and now he's at it again with 2-year-old Lori. But despite his bouts of disloyalty, Courtney has remained by his side. Until now. That's not McKinney. That's Austin, as in Elizabeth and Austin. While Courtney patiently waits at the entrance to her nest for her new love interest to follow her in, Austin seems somewhat anxious, maybe even a little worried that someone might see him. There are eyes everywhere in this colony, and nothing stays secret for long. Well, at least we know Gail didn't see anything. Perhaps it would be best to sit this one out. At the other end of the exhibit, everyone's favourite same-sex male pair bond, Rocco and Hoover, are monopolising some prime real estate. They have found themselves the perfect spot to create a nest, just far enough away from the daily hustle and bustle of the colony, yet close enough for waterfront views. While Rocco guards the site, Hoover collects leaves to furnish the nest. They have become so infatuated with their new home that they can't even be enticed away to feed with the rest of the penguins.
I don't know why Hoover and Rocco decide not to come to the feed. It could be annoying sometimes, but I still bring them their fish.
Down by the rock cave, Harlan and DG are spending the morning bonding. At first glance, these two may seem like a happy couple, but as we know on Penguin Beach, things are rarely as they seem. And Harlan has been acting strange for weeks.
Harlan and DG are another one of our male-male pairs. but I'm not sure how long that's going to last.
We've seen Harlan flirting with Katie quite a bit while DG stays home and looks after the nests, so we'll see what happens with them.
It is unclear at this stage whether or not Katie is interested in Harlan, or even aware of his presence. To test the waters, Harlan gets a little closer. It's not enough. Katie is far too preoccupied with grooming, but she hasn't waddled away yet. Either Katie genuinely has some feathers to clean, or she is an expert at playing hard to get. Either way, Harlan is happy to put in the time. Completely unaware of Harlan's whereabouts or his new hobby, DG is dozing off to sleep. A perfect time for Harlan to try again with Katie. This time he's opening his approach with a foot groom, a fine choice considering Katie's fondness for grooming. He's in. Katie has reciprocated his gesture with a neck groom. Success! Katie now knows who he is, and it seems she may also be interested. Once they hit breeding age, African penguins are on the lookout for that special someone.
When African penguins hit about 3 or 4 years old, they'll start looking for a mate, and they'll establish a strong pair bond and eventually start a little family and lay some eggs.
At only 2 years of age, Laurie isn't quite old enough to settle down with a partner just yet. But as we saw with McKinney, when it comes to intimacy, youth is not a barrier for Laurie. Let's just say she sees this time in her life as a great opportunity to shop around. After all, there are some strapping young single penguins in this colony.
Laurie's situation is something out of a reality show. Even though that she's a young single 2-year-old, she thinks that she's a very mature penguin.
While we have some available males that aren't yet spoken for, Laurie seems to like the challenge of going after birds that are already in a relationship.
And according to Laurie, not-so-single Dan looks like he could do with a bit of extra attention. Laurie starts with her signature move, the gentle neck preen, which Dan seems to enjoy. But not for long. Dan's partner Molly has spotted Laurie's pass at her man, and she's not impressed. Laurie backs off, but plays it cool, and waits for the right moment to pick up where she left off. What's this? It looks like disloyalty won't be tolerated in the colony today. Prince has spotted their not-so-subtle beachside canoodling, and he's putting a stop to it. Laurie knows a lost cause when she sees one and admits defeat, for now.
And we'll just sort of see how things play out between Laurie and all the rest of her boy toys.
Over at the rock caves, DG is doing his best to prove his everlasting loyalty to Harlan. Yet, unfortunately for DG, Harlan is showing very little enthusiasm. He only has one penguin on his mind, Katie.
Poor DG, he's doing everything he can to get Harlan's attention, but Harlan has certainly changed his opinion or his affection to DG to Katie. Katie's one of our older birds, but apparently she's very attractive, especially to Harlan.
Any chance that Harlan gets, he's spending his time defending Katie. So he's pretty much all about her at this point.
Even when DG is less than 2 feet away. But yet again, other members of the colony have shown their disapproval for disloyalty and are fighting for DG's honour. Harlan has made his position quite clear. He is with Katie now, and he stands by his decision.
The penguins are all very aware of who's partnered with who, but when things get out of hand, they're not afraid to take things into their own flippers.
Meanwhile, Laurie still has boys on her mind, and she's not afraid to pursue them publicly. In fact, she's no stranger to a bit of backlash. She's up to her old tricks again, dishing out yet another subtle neck preen. But this handsome male is already taken, and Laurie is chased away for the second time today. Perhaps she has engaged in enough meddling this morning. Tomorrow is another day. It's almost lunchtime and the penguins are beginning to gather for their midday feed. However, Gail is not quite herself. On any other given day, she would be front and centre at the food line, muscling her way towards pole position. So what's going on?
Gail is love-struck. She's found herself a partner and he's all she can think about.
His name is Cannon, and he's quite a catch. Of mature age, has a great house, and a playful personality. What more could a girl want?
I think it all began with a fun swim in the pool. Cannon's been following Gail around and she seems to finally be noticing him.
And now they're inseparable. It's all swimming and preening and grooming for these two.
Gail and Cannon seem to be the hottest thing on the beach today. Gail has found something more interesting than food.
But if we know Gail, she will always make room in her day for her first love. Our youngest penguins, Jack and Laurie, are growing up. And in the penguin world, that means it's time to shed the baby feathers and don that iconic tuxedo.
Jack and Laurie are still in their juvenile plumage, but they're getting ready to molt into their adult plumage. So there's a long process that goes along with this.
And what they'll do is they'll put on about 2.5 pounds, which is a lot of weight for a bird that only weighs maybe 8 or 8.5 pounds to begin with.
Right, so it's time to bulk up, and that means downing plenty of big fish at feeding time. Step 1, check. So what happens next?
Once they've bulked up a little bit and put on that extra weight, those new feathers will start growing in and pushing out the old ones. And this actually takes away any waterproofing or buoyancy they might have, so no swimming for them for a while.
So no swimming means plenty of time for relaxing and figuring out new ways to entertain oneself.
As their molt moves along, they look pretty miserable. Their plumage is patchy, they look disheveled.
And some of the other members of the colony may treat them a little bit differently.
Jack seemed to get a brunt of it this year. Seemed every time he found a spot, someone kicked him right out of it.
For Jack, this molt has put a big target on his back, which appears to be causing some social isolation. No matter where he goes, this new look seems to be drawing a lot of negative attention. And the rest of the colony certainly aren't making this transition easy for him. He hasn't gotten away unscathed. With patches of feathers now missing, Jack still has a few more weeks to wait this phase out. Meanwhile, over by the rocky cave, Laurie isn't doing much better with adjusting to her new look. Once full of confidence and flirtatiousness, now she's feeling a little frumpy and forgotten.
Well, poor Laurie, the girl who used to catch all the boys' eye, she's not catching their eye anymore. She's molting her feathers off and she looks absolutely terrible.
But I'm sure in the next 18 days or so, when she's done molting, she'll have a brand new set of feathers and looking sharp. She'll start getting some attention back from some of those boys.
For now, Laurie will just have to weather the molting storm and wait this one out. There's no doubt change is in the air at Penguin Beach, and for Rocco and Hoover, this change is for the better. These two are starting to really grow and develop as a pair. This clucky couple have already built a nest, and as a result, they are ready to take their relationship to the next level. When there is this much love in a pair bond, the next step is to try for a chick. But since both Rocco and Hoover are males, that makes laying an egg a little tricky. So the keepers have given the pair an egg look-alike to care for, and they are loving it.
Rocco and Hoover are showing a lot of parental behavior, even though they're both boys.
While they can't have a chick of their own, we want to encourage that behavior because who knows, they could be foster parents.
Rocco and Hoover aren't the only ones with chicks on their minds. Gail's relationship with Cannon has escalated quickly. Cannon isn't wasting any time attempting to solidify his bond with Gail, so he makes a move for round 2. But Gail isn't interested. This isn't the first time Cannon has tried for something extra. His appetite for mating is a little more than Gail is up for.
Cannon is always looking for a little more attention from Gail, and I'm not sure the feelings are mutual.
So we're thinking that Gail is pretty much just tolerating him and not having too much interest in him just yet, but let's cross our fingers and hope for those two to get together.
As a result of their mismatched levels of mating drive, Cannon has become a little testy. Only time will tell if this couple will last. It's midday, and some of the residents at Penguin Beach are enjoying a swim in the warm summer sunshine. some are taking themselves on a morning waddle, and others have opted for a sleep-in. Things may look business as usual today, but hang on. Is there a new bird on the block? Tall, dark and handsome, sporting brand new, freshly grown feathers. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, but this handsome bird is Jack. Fresh from his molt, our young Jack is looking more grown up than ever.
He's looking absolutely fabulous, and he knows it.
He's got a whole new air of confidence around him, and he's strutting his stuff.
So hopefully he'll be able to attract a nice lady. She'll see him for the fabulous bird that he is.
And guess who else is flashing a new look? Yep, it's the lovely Laurie, barely recognisable in that fresh tux. After being somewhat overlooked by many of the male penguins during her first moult, she's pretty happy to be back in the game. And she's not wasting any time making her first moves in her adult plumage. She's spotted her first target, a handsome young male. It appears that she's moved on from her signature neck preen. New look, new moves. She's coming in strong with a foot preen. And you'll never guess who her new love interest is. Yep, you're not seeing things. That's Jack's name tag you're looking at. Laurie and Jack. Jack and Laurie. Did anyone predict this one?
It took us a little bit by surprise. Jack is so shy, and Laurie's been so indecisive about her partners. It's kind of special seeing them together.
I think they'll make a really cute pair if she can stay loyal to him.
But at this stage, the relationship seems to be a little one-sided. Although he's happy to oblige to a good foot preening, Jack doesn't seem as into the partnership as Laurie does. Jack had expressed an interest in Laurie in the past, but she never looked twice at him. He wasn't as grown up and mature as the other penguins, so he never captivated her interest. And now all of a sudden, Jack has emerged from his juvenile plumage as a straight-up bird pit. And Laurie wants every part of it. But the tables have turned now. Laurie had her chance. If she didn't want to preen him at his worst, she doesn't get to preen him at his best. Perhaps Jack wants to see where this new look can take him. Speaking of trying new things, since DG's partner Harlan left him for Katie, DG has decided to find himself a new girl. And this new partnership certainly comes with its benefits.
He's got it all figured out. What better way to make Harlan jealous than to start a new relationship?
And by the looks of it, it could be working.
Well, despite DG's best efforts, doesn't seem to be having an effect on Harlan and Katie. They're as tight as a pair as we've seen.
In fact, they are staying true to each other during Katie's first molt as a couple. Even though she's bulking up a little, and she's less into swimming sessions and more into lying around, Harlan hasn't left her side. Preening her when she needs it, cuddling her so she doesn't feel lonely, and just letting her know that he's still attracted to her no matter what. Meanwhile, on the other side of Penguin Beach, Gail and Cannon have taken their relationship to the next level.
Gail and Cannon have finally decided to nest together. So essentially, they're on the hunt for a new house.
This could be a good option. Spacious, friendly neighbourhood, prime location? Apparently not. Gail appears to be after a better view, but this space is far too small. Perhaps the other end of the beach has something more suitable. After days of searching, Gail has thrown in the towel and opts for a swim to take her mind off things. But in Gail's absence, Cannon hatches a plan. He's had his eye on a nice little spot, but he's been waiting for a chance to decorate it for Gail. She's on her way back. It's time to put this plan in motion. The perfect leaf for the perfect girl. What's the verdict? She seems satisfied. What a journey we've been on together this season, from the highs to the lows, and everything else in between. This colony has taught us the importance of loyalty, bravery, and passion. And regardless of the various challenges they've faced as individuals, the strength of the colony bond has been unbreakable. For now.